Okay. This meeting is now called to order. It is 7 p.m. Today is August 2nd, 2022. This is the Arundel Planning Board meeting in the municipal meeting room at Town Hall. I'll start with a roll call from down at the end.
Lee J. Feldman, Southern Town Planner.
Marty Kane.
Susan Senate.
Tom McGinn.
Paul Green.
Susan Roth.
Rich Gannon, I'm the chairman. We have approval of the agenda, and on the agenda, we have the approval of the minutes for July 12th. We have public comment. We have a public hearing for the planning board meeting policy. We have new business, Goff Brook Farm subdivision, and under old business, we have a discussion on the planning board's meeting policy and possible adoption, and subdivision regulations, continued review of the proposed regulations regarding fire suppression.
So moved.
Okay. Marty has made a motion to approve. Second. Paul has seconded it. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No extensions? We were all here? Cool. Public comment. This is the time in the meeting when members of the public, and we have one present if he wants to make a comment about something that's not on the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, did you want to do approval of the minutes?
Oh, thank you very much.
Approve the minutes as written.
Second.
Motion has been made by Paul Green and seconded by Susan Sinnet to approve the minutes as submitted. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, with 4 in favor, 1 abstention. Public hearing. Planning board meeting policy. It's a review of the proposed Arundel Planning Board meeting policy. Public hearing to be held to hear comments prior to adoption by the board. Does anybody in the audience, since there's actually an audience, we should ask Mr. Labby if he has any comments about the meeting policy?
I do have a question, just
Oh,
one
no,
minute.
no, Not yet. We're
Okay,
gonna close the public hearing first.
okay.
So I'm gonna close the public hearing. It's at 7:03. Okay, Tom, you're on.
I'm just curious, this doesn't have to go to town vote or anything.
It does not.
Just,
Because this is the planning board policy. We hold a public hearing to notify people that we're changing the policy.
okay.
And
Good,
we
that's-
can vote to adopt it.
What?
Anybody have any questions? Any other questions on that? We will come back to that.
Can't we vote on it?
We will, but we got, that's under old business. We've got one more item under new business.
Okay.
Goff Brook Farm Subdivision Porter Lane Preservation LLC is requesting an extension of the filing deadline for final subdivision application submittal. And under the subdivision regulations, they have to, since they're being held up by Maine DEP, we cannot grant them a temporary, waiting for Maine DEP to come through. So they have asked us for an extension of time to submit the final plan. If you agree with that, we need a motion to
I'll
grant.
make a motion that we grant that extension.
Second.
And I'll second that. Okay, motion was made by Tom McGinn, seconded by Susan Roth to grant Goff Brook Farm subdivision their requested extension. Now,
Question,
yeah, Marty,
how long is the extension?
there is no time limit.
Okay, that's why I was, in case if it doesn't happen, we say within the time limit, can another extension be granted? That's what
Yeah, there's no. time
that's
limit.
why I was questioning my question.
Well, I was asking Lee J about that. I mean, what happens if it takes Maine DEP 2 years to get back to them? Their application will be held for the 2-year period of time based upon the subdivision regulations. Hopefully, it won't take them that long, but you can never tell.
So Now that I think about it, I think leaving it open-ended isn't the right thing to do.
I don't
It's
think
not
they
their
just
fault.
did it, But it's not their fault. They're being held up by Maine DEP.
But
I'm
what
not
if-
sure,
what
I'm not
if-
sure it's the right thing to do, but
Well,
the regulations don't stipulate a time period.
I don't, I don't want to hold it against them because there's nothing they can do about it, but if it is 2 years and all the ordinances change in the meantime, then what happens? It gets
So
messy.
they are grandfathered under these ordinances.
Okay.
Yeah, but, so that brings up an interesting question and a point. So the way the subdivision regulations are drafted, it says prior to submittal with the final application, the following approvals shall be obtained in writing where applicable, and it lists a number of them. The other way that the board could choose to do it, if you wanted to look at amending the subdivision regulation, is eliminating that, and then, you can review and approve the final application with the condition that no permits are released to the applicant until those other state or federal permits have been received in the planning department. That's another way to do it. I don't know if you want to talk about that, not tonight, but at some other time, or leave it like this. But as I understand it right now, this application is not being held up because of anything in design or anything they've done. The DEP is very shorthanded, and they're having a lot of turnover in staff. And so they are way behind the 8 ball on all of their permits across the state.
But we can't put anything in conditional that we will, yes, we will move it, there is as a condition that nothing else in the application is changed. In other words, you can hold it for 2 through 3 years, 4 years, things change. So in other words, as soon as the DEP comes back, they should come right in front of us.
That's correct.
Right, I'm
That's
saying, is
correct.
there some stipulation that states that versus them holding this?
It's pretty much a given
Given.
rule that understands that once they've been submitted under a certain set of standards, that
Mhm,
those will always apply to that application, that they're grandfathered into that.
right. So it's a given, but it's not stipulated.
No, no.
Okay, that was
If
my
you wanted
question.
it stipulated, we'd have to have the town attorney give you a letter stating that.
Okay, I was just curious,
Yeah.
because again, you could hope, get it back and go, okay, now we're out of
Sure,
funds, now we're out of
right.
this,
Yeah,
now we're out
no.
of that.
No, that's,
But I think in the past, we've generally, as far as I know, always, when we've given an extension, had some type of time, 6 months, a year, whatever. 3
site
months.
plan ordinance, site plan review does state that. It states a specific,
Right, that's where we've given it in the past, is under site plan.
right,
Where we had 2 30-day
two
extensions.
30-day extensions.
But if the application changes, Lee J, if they have substantive changes in the application that was approved, then the whole process starts all over again, doesn't it?
If
They have to
change it,
reopen.
yes.
Yeah, that's what I
Yes,
mean.
correct. If they're changing it, if the DEP is requiring some modification to their design, that really doesn't,
Right, but if they change it themselves, then
Yeah.
it's a new ballgame.
absolutely.
Yeah, I think we should give them the extension.
Do you think there should be some type of time limit?
I think we should give them this extension because the ordinance doesn't place a time restriction on it. And then we should have the discussion as to whether or not we want to do what we have done in the past where we, under the site plan review, we have said that we will grant you the permit based upon, you can't do anything
Receiving, yeah,
until you
yeah.
receive the final paper.
A condition that they can't, yeah, they
Yeah,
can't
we've done
obtain.
that before.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll leave my motion as is.
And I'll second it.
Motion was made and seconded, motion by Tom again to grant the extension and seconded by Susan Rock. Any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous. Woo-hoo. Now, other business, the planning board meeting policy. We have the planning board meeting policy and we have the rationale that I followed when I wrote it up. We held a public hearing. We can now vote on whether or not we want to adopt this policy.
I move that we adopt this as written.
And I'll second that, because I think it's just really important if we are holding a Zoom meeting and not having an in-person meeting, that those people from the public that are attending have a chance to
Yes.
participate. And I think as long as we have that, I think it's straightforward. So I will second that.
Motion was made by Susan to consider remote meeting policy, seconded by Susan Martin. Discussion? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It is unanimous. And last but not least, the proposed amendment to the subdivision regulations regarding fire suppression.
Yes, so quickly from the last meeting where we had discussion regarding still somehow having cisterns involved, especially or specifically for HUD certified homes and HUD types of subdivisions or developments. Excuse me, modification has occurred under alternative water supply required. And I added that cisterns shall be maintained by the development and shall provide the fire department yearly record of maintenance and water capacity of the cistern. That way, it's not the fire department's burden to have to make sure it's full or to maintain it. It's really on the burden of the developer or the development in the future. Other than that, I believe all other parts of the amendment would stay the same.
So I have a question, Lee J. So does this apply to developments like what's going to go on, or we think is going to go on Campground Road, where those are, what, prefabricated?
Those fall under the HUD.
Yeah, they had.
Well, they could
So
fall
would
under
they
the
have to
HUD.
have sprinklers then?
They could, they would
They're not
not,
built to be
and
that
that's
way.
where the issue comes into play, because the reason I specifically said HUD certified homes is because those types of homes are not constructed in a way that they can be modified to have sprinkler systems
Okay,
put
well,
in.
that's what I was wondering.
Yes.
So
Right.
Yeah,
that
respectfully,
property
we
has
talked about it last
cisterns
week.
as
If
opposed
they're,
Last time.
if they're modulars, not double wides, that's a HUD, that would be a HUD certified, but if they're modulars, those are built in a controlled environment, just like any other stick-built home is built down on a foundation. Those can be modified, but the HUD certified homes cannot, because they're not built to the same code.
Because last time we met, Susan, we talked about that, and we also talked about the different qualifications underneath the mobile home parks. So the different levels, that's why we added this in, because that was my concern, is that there wasn't anything covering the HUD homes, if we just say you have to have a sprinkler. So we added that back in to cover that aspect of it, so that all the current ones that we have moving forward will be covered in some capacity.
That's a good idea.
I remember.
I move that we accept this. Anybody want a second?
I'll let
second
them go
that.
to their mouth up there.
I'll second that.
Hang on just for a second. DJ,
Yes.
public hearing? Subdivision regs?
Yes, I believe it does require a public hearing, even though they don't go any place else for adoption.
So we'll need to schedule a public hearing for the next
Yes,
meeting.
that's a good point, yes.
Oh,
Because this
before-
was not advertised already, we needed to go over the amendment again to make sure everybody was happy with it.
Okay, so before we can move it and approve it, we have to have a public hearing?
Yes,
Okay,
On the 16th.
yep,
all right, so officially you have to withdraw your motion.
I withdraw my motion to approve it.
We still can approve it by our vote and then still have a public hearing afterwards.
I think you have to have a
I mean-
public hearing first,
I would just, I would
Okay.
advise against it,
All right.
in case there's a need to change something.
right.
So you need a motion for that? Need a motion?
I did.
For the public hearing?
Set the public hearing for the
Yeah.
16th.
Oh, I move we have, we
Let's-
schedule.
let's-
a public hearing for the 16th.
Second it.
Motion was made
Paul
by
Grant.
Susan Roth, seconded by Paul Reed. Public hearing on the fire protection ordinance. The 16th. Discussion?
I have a question, so I might be unfamiliar with all of this.
Yep.
But it's scratching the fire pond standards,
Yes.
so it's just gonna be cisterns only, or
No, cisterns only in HUD related
so
developments.
this only applies to HUD, so
All other subdivisions,
Sprinkle.
all other
So-
subdivisions will require sprinklers in homes.
where, I see in 12(1)(b)(2), where it first mentions HUD,
Yep,
as far as I can see, and then the fire pond standards is C,
fire
So-
ponds are being taken out,
it's all taken out,
yes.
okay.
Because if they're not maintained, and when they are maintained, they've got
Sludge.
mud and sludge and other stuff that's in them, they're just.
Mother Nature revenge.
So it's either the HUD clause or,
Cisterns for HUDs,
the one says install this fire sprinkler system.
correct,
So there's no option for fire pond.
correct.
Okay, that works. All right, thanks.
Any more discussion?
This is gonna, excuse me, Lee J, this
Yep.
is gonna be a statewide requirement, new.
Well, it's not a
construction?
statewide requirement per se. The state building code recognizes it as a standard today. And it really prefers that they have sprinkler systems in individual homes. And many towns are moving in that direction. They are requiring sprinkler systems rather than any other mode of fire suppression. They're not meant to save a home per se, they're meant to suppress, to get people out of the home. Then the fire department would do their job.
Didn't we also talk about the fire department, the maintenance of it becomes an issue, so we either have to have the town maintain them, or would have to have everybody put in their homeowners things, and it doesn't make any sense, as that's where it's moving anyway.
Right, yes, the cistern type of issue is also very costly, and unless we were to be diligent and require every homeowners association or every development, whoever may be responsible to maintain those, if they're not maintained, and the fire department just doesn't have the staff as we continue to grow here, to make sure that they're not seeping, that they're double walled systems, that they're full of water, because water can dry up over time. That by having individual systems tied to individual wells, or tied to someone who may want to put a 5,000 gallon tank either underground or in their home as an individual, then they would have, independent suppression for every property, which is easier for the community, of course, to maintain and a lot less expensive.
Do we have an idea how much it costs per square foot to install these kinds of systems?
The number that I have heard is that it's around $5,000 to have sprinkler systems installed. Now, don't forget, this is not like requiring every home to go back and do that. This is for new homes being constructed in this subdivision going forward. So unfortunately, as everything else is, that dollar amount will somehow be tacked on to us as homeowners or purchasers. But it's about $5,000.
And again, if it's a double wide, or if it's a HUD home, then that they're not being able to put that in construction, and then cistern needs to be available, and then that has to be maintained by the actual homeowners association, not by the town.
That is correct.
How many cisterns is the town maintaining right now?
Great question. I don't have that answer, but I will have it for you for the public hearing if you'd like.
Yeah, there's a
Please.
handful of them.
Well, I'm just wondering, is there something there that we can approach the different areas and convince them to take them over in some cases, right? especially where if
It's a little
it's,
more than a year.
if we're not
There's
maintaining,
quite a few.
Yeah.
And,
you know,
if you remember, I can't think of the name of the fellow that's got down here off the new road, who's got the big subdivision that goes back out to Old Alfred,
Is that,
oh,
is that Tucson?
apartments.
Bartlett Farms.
Bartlett
Bartlett Farms has cisterns scattered throughout
Houston?
the property.
Yeah, I know. But what I'm wondering is,
This side.
how many is the town maintaining supposedly, and if we don't have the people to maintain them, what kind of liability does it give us?
It's not just the cisterns, there are fire ponds that the town has to maintain. We have to maintain all of the hydrants that are attached to those ponds.
Correct.
And the fire, Reynold drives around every year, twice a year, and he makes sure that the fire, the hydrants are working.
Yep.
Okay,
So we have
so
a
we
public
have,
hearing.
we have a vote for the public hearing on the 16th of August at 7 PM.
Yep.
Vote on that?
Nope.
Not yet.
Okay, all those in favor?
Yep.
Anyone opposed? Distracted by the discussion, sorry. Does the town planner have anything for us?
On the record or off the record?
I do not have anything for you at this time. No, I do not.
I have a question. Anything on Route 1 about the seasonal cottages? That was in a limbo
Yep.
stage.
Oh, you're talking about phase 6?
No, the right and left hand.
That is being worked through a little bit with the manager's office, but mostly with the developer and the main DOT. So they're still trying to work.
Is it gonna be, do you know if it's gonna be started before the winter?
I do not know that.
I mean, it's only a guessing game. I
Yeah,
mean,
I do not know that.
They have to do that before they begin phase 6.
Yeah, they have to, the DOT sent us, as well as the applicant notification that that should have been completed by now. So it's an immediate action requirement from the DOT to address that issue.
are they still holding up occupancy permits?
Well, there were only 2, and we have worked to negotiate to release those 2.
So I have a question, the minutes from the last meeting. How fast do the minutes turn over? Because this is 2 meetings ago. And so like we have things we've discussed that would be good to read them before we come back to the next meeting. In other words, if this meeting, if we had a way to get them before the next meeting, if anyone was missing, like Ms. Jamie was missing, he could read what we've talked about.
Well, Ann has emailed these minutes to everybody. She sends them out a week before the meeting.
So these from tonight would come out before the meeting, the next meeting?
They'll probably be out by next Tuesday.
So we'll have 2 minutes to approve, because we didn't approve the last.
So first off, possibly on that, only because she's on vacation this week and she's gonna be swamped when she gets back and stuff. I don't know how quick she will get to those. But the other aspect is certainly if you're not in attendance at the meeting in which the minutes are, then you can't act on them.
Correct.
Certainly they're available for every board member to be able to read and know what's going on. They will be. But, for example, Jamie not here tonight, Jamie can't act on those minutes. If he wants to act on an application that may have been on a board meeting that he did not attend, then he has to come in and read the record and watch the tape and make that known to the board before he can participate, or anybody for that matter, can participate on that.
Tom and Martin, you might remember, we had that issue of the question of being able to vote at a meeting. And I think it was Leah that developed an affidavit for us to sign that said we had watched the video.
Yep.
I was just curious in the
Yep.
process.
Yep.
That
No,
wasn't that long
absolutely.
ago.
It was a couple of years.
A couple years ago.
Yeah, which surprises me as to how long ago it was.
Okay.
Time flies, having fun.
But yeah, Ann's usually pretty good. We get an email, even, honestly,
Oh, I got it.
even if it's even if it's like the Monday before the meeting, you do get a chance to look at it.
We're not able to like call her and ask her to change things. We have to wait
We have
till
to wait until.
till we're in public here.
Correct.
Correct.
If there's nothing else.
I move that we adjourn.
Okay.
Second.